Chapter 9 deals with trade, and I'm just going to do a short presentation on what I think are the important parts of this chapter. If this is a subject that you are looking into doing your research paper on, then I highly suggest that you read the chapter, but these are the short parts of it. So, trade, of course, has been going on since the beginning of mankind or womankind. And when we have something that we want from another person or another country, we trade. That's what the whole idea is. And the parts of the trade now is e-commerce, and e-commerce has really boomed in the past 20 years. But in the past year, you've probably been a very big consumer through e-commerce. Protectionism, that means how do we protect domestic markets? How do we protect our own country's products so that they don't become less valuable, and especially with competition from other countries. And liberalism is that we believe in open markets and fewer trade controls. So this is kind of interesting here. You can see that the growth of global trade really didn't start till about 1990, and then it just boomed almost to a geometric or a more linear place here. But the slope has really increased since the creation of World Trade Organization. Again, that's a non-governmental organization that the people just got together and said, these are the rules, this is what's going to happen. We're going to have free trade, and boom, that's what the amount of money that's been in US dollars, about $17 trillion in trade. These are the world's biggest traders for merchandise. It's China. They export 17 and we export 12, but we import 18. So that's when they talk about trade deficit. We export 12 in merchandise and we import 18. So that's like $6 trillion difference here. Is it the trillion? This is not a very good one because we don't. No, that's percentage. Sorry, that's 6% difference. Now in services, we're much higher, and we export 20, and we import 13. So we have an advantage there of 7%. So you can see what this, when you look at this, what the biggest countries are. You don't see very small countries as being part of the biggest traders, which we'll deal with when you talk about fair trading. There are different types of trade controls. Tariffs were a big part of the issue in the last presidential administration to protect domestic products. He put down tariffs on imported goods. However, the other countries, such as China, they retaliated by adding tariffs, very high tariffs. This hurt the lobster industry in Maine. It hurt the soybean industry in the Midwest. And so that's one of the fallbacks, or the one of the effects of tariffs. You can look at others, quotas, the amount that goes out, embargoes, sanctions, and import and export licenses. Just thought this was a interesting chart. Free trade, there are no barriers, period. So, pros and cons of free trade: it encourages development. However, it really creates economic imbalances among the countries because some countries can't compete. Helps create new businesses, and some of the businesses will be lost. My dad worked in the shoe industry. He was a shoemaker in a mill, and in the 1960s and towards the end of the 60s, most of the jobs were lost because there were more competition from other countries, such as China, and that continues to this day. There's not much of a shoemaking industry in the country, except for some local companies that make running shoes. That's just an example there. So these are the pros and cons. You can look at them and see which one will affect your paper. Fair trade is trying to give countries that have a don't have a large uh, domestic industry, but gives them a bigger bigger share of the global economy. So trade played a key role in the global system. That's the biggest issue that we can get from this summary. You can read the rest of the summary. So again, if this chapter is something that you're going to be studying and doing for your paper, then take a good look at it. If not, this summary should be helpful. And also the videos that I put on the discussion, they're very good too, as giving you a good understanding of what we mean by trade and the globalization of the economy. Now we'll go to chapter 10. Chapter 10 is on migration. This is merely the movement of people from one place to another place. So emigration means they leave. Immigration means they come in. Migrant is the person who moves, and mobility is the ability or capacity to move. So that's the definition of migration. These are examples of migration from history. There's one that isn't on here, and it might be of interest to some people, is the Great Migration of the African Americans from the south to the north of south as a part of the country, United States, to the northern part of the country. So in the 19 from the late from the 1920s to about 1970, there was a large migration of African Americans from the southern states due to the social injustices they incurred there, and also to better economic opportunities in the north. So in those 50 years, right around the two wars, the two world wars, they became very a big part of the northern growth of African Americans in the cities. This included New York City, Detroit, Cleveland. Uh, um, I'm sorry, I'm losing my thought here. Cleveland, Chicago, and even parts of the Northwest, such as Portland, Oregon, and Seattle. So they found better jobs, such as in the oil industry, in the automobile industry, especially in Detroit. There was a big influx of that's called the Great Migration in America. This is not on this list, but that gives you an idea of some of the examples here. Now, there are different types of migrants. There's a migrating from state within states that happened, as I just said, in the United States. Rural to urban, that continues to this day. Small towns, people leaving small towns and going to urban areas. Regional, seasonal, temporary. So we have people here seasonal in terms of gathering the crops, apple picking, I had seen a lot of seasonal migrants coming into this state. There's unauthorized migration without the authority of the receiving country. We've had that issue for the many years here in the United States. You can see the other definitions of the migrant there. Push factors, if I'm using my example of African Americans, would be the societal problems. If we are looking at the growth of migrants in Maine, especially in Lewiston, in Portland, and Biddeford, where there are more people from Africa, from Eastern Africa, especially from Somalia, Kenya, they've been pushed by war. Asylum seekers, this is a person who seeks permanent residence, especially because of political problems in their country that could cause them to lose their life. A refugee is someone who's forced to move from their home as a result of other political, economic, social, or environmental disruption. Chain migration, this is when we have immigrants linked by social networks. They follow usually the mail. This has happened in this country for many years, where the mail will come in, work, and send money back to their home, and hopefully the people back home will come to America. Brain drain. This is what happens when, especially, you have a need for a certain type of worker, especially in technology, and that leaves the country that lost these people with a brain drain. They've lost those people, so that's an issue in terms of migration. I thought this would be an interesting chart for you if you're not aware that the United States, how big it is a destination country compared to the other countries in the world that are on this chart. Look at it, compare United States to Germany. We're about 46, 47 million, and Germany is about 12 million. And then in the percentage of distribution of migrants by region, the largest ones are Europe and Asia. And this is up to 2015. So in the past 5 to 6 years, things have changed quite a bit. I know that from Syria during the civil war there was a great migrant movement to Europe, especially to countries such as Greece and Turkey and Germany. So you can see the comparison there. And then these are some things I've mentioned already. These are reasons why people leave their country because of political, economic, social, cultural, environmental, and educational. So this could be something that will influence your paper. And finally, the 10 by international students. International students, of course, it's that has been really dampened in the last 4 years due to the stricter guidelines from the previous administration. So this goes up to 2015. The new data will show that maybe this has changed a little bit. Of course, with COVID, the pandemic has caused this to probably even go down further in all of the world. So that'll be interesting to see before and after this pandemic as to how that has changed the destination countries of international students. And displaced people in the world, you can see, look at the numbers of these. There are 22.5 million refugees, over 40 million internally displaced persons, especially in these countries such as Colombia, Syria, Iraq, the Democratic Republic of Congo. These are some of the examples. There are 2.8 million asylum seekers, and the biggest destinations are Germany, US, and Turkey, again, from mainly from Syria due to the civil war. The pros and cons of migration, you can read this on your own. I just found this to be a very interesting table, and it may be something that will help you to on your paper. And continuing then, comparing migrant numbers in the United States and European Union. The European Union is a population of 505 million people. There are authorized 50 millions and unauthorized is low millions, while the United States 320 million, 43 million authorized immigrants, and over 11 million unauthorized immigrants. So that's an issue for the United States. So this is the summary. I think it's an important summary, and I think this is something that, if it's related to your paper, you should take a look at this. This chapter is about. It's not as long as some other chapters, but it is an important one. And the videos that I mentioned in discussion 5 can help you get a better understanding of the issues dealing with migration. So that's it for this week. Thank you very much.